So it's 6:30 in the morning. I've just rolled out of bed, and what I'm going to do today is to do a day in the life of. Well, good morning. It's Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics. Today I'm going to describe some of the things through the day that I get involved with that drives the work that I do. And it's just getting light now. It's quite a nice morning here. And around this time of the morning, the first thing I do is get to the computer and check through what's happened overnight. So I'll be looking at the news feeds from around the world, checking the emails, and checking the other information feeds. This is because one of the things that I do through the day is to maintain the Digital Finance Analytics blog. And that blog essentially allows me to report on some of the important finance and property issues that we see around the country. So I'm off to do that now, and I'll check back with you a bit later. So this is the cockpit, as it were, of what I do. You can see I've got the computer screens running. They run pretty much all the time. And we have a number of news feeds from around the place. Some of them come in via RSS, they're updated automatically. Others come in via email. And then I also go to a number of websites to get the information each morning. It takes me about half an hour each day to just catch up with what's happened overnight. So I noticed this morning the Federal Reserve Beige Book come in, so I'll take a look at that. US data, of course, is quite rich at this time of the morning, and I also look at some of the information, for example, IMF, and also from the Bank for International Settlements, and a few others. We've set up these systems over the years and they work quite well. But what it does mean is that there's a lot to do first thing in the morning. So that's what I'm going to do now. Catch up with you a bit later. So one of the sources of information I use quite often is The Conversation, a distillation of a number of academic articles, but they're actually quite broad-based. So there's one here today on how the government might pay for its proposed tax cuts. So I'm going to post that one on the Digital Finance Analytics blog. The beauty of The Conversation is that you're allowed to republish it with attribution. So that's often a source that I use on the main blog. And just to explain, Digital Finance Analytics has its own website, and as part of that website there's quite a large blog. And I tend to post most days perhaps 6 to 8 articles. And what I try to do is to find interesting articles, provocative articles, articles that cover a particular set of issues that relate to property or finance, and where I think there's an interesting contribution to be made. So it's really about quality, not quantity. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to post that conversation article. So as I work on this, one of the things I try to do is find an appropriate graphic to add to the article. When you actually cross-post, as I do towards Twitter and LinkedIn in particular, the images actually work quite well in terms of drawing attention to the particular article that is actually being posted. So then I preview it, making sure that it's all working as I expected. There you go, that's all up and running. So I use WordPress as the core blogging engine, and blogging for about 7 or 8 years, and there's content on the site from about 2012 onwards. It's quite rich actually. And there you go, that's just the alert to tell me that the post has been made, and I have it coming in through some of my feeds. It's quite a nice, comforting experience to see the blog come back and the link there. And people who subscribe on the blog actually get an email alert, and they're able to then go and look directly at the site. I'll just talk briefly while I'm here about the overall Digital Finance Analytics site. So the blog is just part of the overall site. So if you go to the main site, I'll just show you this. This is the main Digital Finance Analytics site. And the reason I've set it up like I have here is that you can't always rely on WordPress being around. Occasionally you get bugs in the WordPress part of the site. But what I do is I have a front end which essentially is not WordPress. It's actually published separately. I use Adobe Muse, in fact, for that. And that allows me then to keep the site up whatever. And then on the site you've got the sorts of things that you might expect. You've got some news feeds, you've got a feed from my blog, you've got some links to some of the reports I've done recently. So there are 4. There's the Small and Medium Enterprise report from 2017, the Property Imperative report, which is my 6-monthly summary of the property sector, which is done each March and September. So that's one of the things I'm working on at the moment. The next report there is the Channel Preference report, the Quiet Revolution. And then finally there's one on the stressed finance landscape. All of those reports are free to download on request. It's part of the strategy here to make some information available for no cost. Obviously there's a lot more information I have here which is only available on a commercial basis. And then there's a small intro to Digital Finance Analytics. You'll be familiar with the music.
Welcome to Digital Finance Analytics. Thanks for visiting. Let me tell you about what we do and how we can help.
And then across the top I've got a bit of a hero display that cycles through. So there's recent videos, recent charts, and a bunch of other stuff that all is relevant to what I do. So that's the way that the blog is connected. So you can see it's here, it's one of the tags, and then you can go back through to the blog. But what it does mean is that it's separated, so that if anything goes wrong with WordPress, I'm still on air. Okay, so I'm going to spend now the next 20 minutes or so just continuing to go through the various news feeds, finding the most interesting and insightful piece of information, and then I'll post them if there's something interesting, informative, not necessarily aligned with my views, but if I think it's a good article and worth repeating or worth commenting on, then that's what I'll do. Oh, and there's one other task, of course. I also want to go and check on the latest comments on the YouTube channel. I've been working, as you know, on the YouTube channel quite intensively over the last month or so, and we've got quite a large number of subscribers now, which is fantastic. But one of the things to do is to make sure that you take time to read the comments, as I do, and that's one of the other things I'm going to do. I noticed there are about 10 comments waiting to be read, so that's the other thing that I'm going to do as well over the next few minutes.
Another crack in the property market. Hello again, I'm Martin North, Principal Analyst at Digital Finance Analytics.
So that was the one that I did last night, actually, on Deposit Power. I think it's a very significant and important event, actually, and wanted to do that last night. So it's a bit late, but I put it up last night. And I've got quite a few comments, in fact, from a number of different subscribers. There's one saying there, I couldn't believe this wasn't bigger news when I read it. Thanks for highlighting it. The cracks are showing. And another comment from Damien this time. Mainstream media is touting it's the best time to buy property. Thank you once again for your courage. I hope people are listening to your very important messages. And one from Arthur. Excellent expose. You seem to know more on the subject than all the other talking heads I listen to. Well, that's all good to hear. Thank you very much. Keep up those comments. It's always great to hear what's going on and to see how you're reacting to what I'm putting up. I genuinely take the feedback seriously, and will try and post comments to people when they take the time to post comments to me. Okay, so that's the rest of the morning charted, I think, at the moment, so I'm going to catch up with you a little bit later once I finish the review. Talk to you later. Okay, so now we finished the analysis this morning, and all work and no play is not good, so we're going to take the dogs down to the beach for a bit of a walk and a run. It's not a great day, but at least it's not raining and the dogs will love it. I try to get out several times a day, get some exercise, and helps me to think, and also keeps my back working a little better. I have a few back issues, so it actually helps. So we've got two dogs, Jasper and Winston. Winston is the one with the 3 legs. He lost his leg from cancer about 18 months ago, but still gets around okay. Both 13 years, so they're a bit old, but still love to come down to the beach and have a bit of a play. Well, a bit of a sniff, really. Yeah. So there's a ton of seaweed over there coming overnight. I guess it relates to the storms and high tides that we had a few days ago. Well, it's going to get very smelly over the next few days. The dogs will love that. And as normal, the 3-legged dog has gone further than the 4-legged dog. Winston is much keener to see what's going on and to catch up, whereas Jasper is just happy smooching around on the beach and having a bit sniff. So there we go, that's the beach walk done. Now we're heading back to get into the serious part of the work. About what I do is there's never really a start and a stop. It's always continuous. There's always more stuff to do. There's always more data coming in. There's more analysis to work on. At the moment I'm planning to do some prep for a workshop I'm running next week for a client, looking at the future of the mortgage industry, which of course in the current environment is remarkably interesting. And I've also got some modelling and updating to do for my core market models. The core market models are the analytic tools that I use to look at the whole market. They contain information from my surveys, from public data and also private data, so I have to keep those updated, and I'm running some analytics on those particularly at the moment. If you're interested in more on the market data, there's actually a video blog I did some time back discussing specifically the mortgage market and the market data as a whole and how it all works, so you might want to have a look at that. I'll put a link in the comment section below if you're interested in that.
And then the other thing I've got to do today is that I've got to make a video recording. So one of the things that I do is to do corporate videos and training videos, and I've got a video to make today, again on the property market for a particular client. So I'll be setting up to do that. Perhaps I'll show you how I set up to do that sort of video. It's the same sort of setup I use for the video blogs, but and then of course a bit later on today the ABS will publish their data. I think the GDP data yesterday was pretty flaky, so I'll be interested to look at some of the granularity behind that. And there'll be other announcements coming through the day. We get quite a lot of press releases that come in directly, and some of those I'll put up on the blog, others I'll not. I'll just think about it and perhaps add them to a comment later. So there's always plenty to do. The good news is the traffic's not too bad at the moment, so that's excellent. It can be quite busy. We're sort of down in regional New South Wales here, but the main roads get quite chocker sometimes, and it's a bit of a joke that we have our local traffic jams, but it's not too bad at the moment, so that's pretty good in terms of getting about. So I came down from Sydney about 7 or 8 years ago now to ostensibly spend less time working and more time relaxing, and I sort of am, but nevertheless the digital finance analytics business has taken perhaps more of my time than I expected. I really enjoy doing it, so it's not really a chore, but it's just interesting how it's panned out. But I do try and wire in through the day, exercise and getting around and getting some fresh air. So that's pretty important to me. Trying to keep a bit of a life balance. I'll talk a little bit about the way that the digital finance analytics business fits in with Walk the World, because a few people have asked why it is that the YouTube channel is called Walk the World. Well, there's actually an answer to that, and it's to do with the fact that I have a video production company called Walk the World Productions, and because essentially the YouTube channel started as a distribution channel for my Walk the World videos. It's called Walk the World, but actually it works quite well because it means there's a little bit of distance from digital finance analytics and Walk the World, but it's still sort of connected. And in fact, there's a separate website called Walk the World Production.com where you can see some of my video work, which includes quite a lot of drone flying and quite a lot of videos travelling around the area, both here and overseas. So that's just another facet of my life, as it were. And in a way, the digital finance analytics and the Walk the World production sort of come together in the video blogging that I'm doing at the moment. So it's funny how it's all worked out, really. So we're now back at the ranch, as it were. And I got to scoop the dogs out the car and get on with the rest of my day, so I'll catch you later.
Well, hello again. It's just about 12 o'clock and I've been working steadily on various issues since I came back from the beach earlier on. And in the last few moments I've just taken a phone call from a journalist who's interested in some of our research on the Bank of Mum and Dad. So I've now started to look that information out and I'll send that across to him. And then we've arranged to have another conversation mid-afternoon to explore in more detail the information that I've got so that he can then tailor it to his article. We get quite a few of these sorts of requests through the week and try to be responsive. It's one of the strategies that we've got, is to build our media profile firstly through our own social media channels, but also to work with the mainstream media. And if you go back to the video blog, you'll see there are quite a few examples of recent work. It's all part of building the digital finance analytics brand, and I think we've been quite successful. If you look back over on our website, you can see the list of the recent media citations that we've had, and we're running at somewhere between 20 and 30 a month through a whole bunch of media, from print media as well as television and radio. So we're going to do some more work over the next couple of hours, grab a bite of lunch, cup of tea,
and just keep plugging away at the various things that we're doing. So I'll give you a further update later on. Hello again. It's just about 2 o'clock and I'm just processing the Australian Bureau of Statistics data on securitized assets, which came out today. And it's a really interesting set of numbers. In fact, there's probably enough to do a separate blog post on this, but nevertheless, it's really fascinating to see the significant accelerated growth in the securitization sector. In fact, my calculation suggests over the last 12 months, the total volume of securitized mortgages has risen by no less than 13%. And that's quite amazing because if you look at the long-term trends, there was a significant peak prior to the global financial crisis in 2007-8, and then since then the volume dropped considerably. But it picked up through last year. And now there's a lot of momentum, and I think we can explain that momentum in a couple of ways. Firstly, there are a lot of non-banks who are now actively courting mortgage borrowers, and they're using the securitized mechanism to be able to fund those mortgages. And secondly, some of the other mainstream lenders are now using securitization as a mechanism to raise funds as well, because the cost of securitization has come back significantly from where it was some time back. So as a result of that, now securitization looks to me to be going gangbusters. I think the most concerning part of the whole story here relates to the non-bank sector, because certainly my data suggests that the non-bank sector is lending like crazy at the moment. And of course they don't have the same constraints as the banks do, despite the fact that APRA now has some oversight of the non-bank sector as well. So I'm just going to continue to work on these charts and then put a blog post up on the Digital Finance Analytics blog relating specifically to securitization. And perhaps if there's time later today or perhaps tomorrow, I may even do a video blog in more detail on this. I better get back to work and I'll check in with you guys again later. Hello, Martin speaking. Yes, go ahead, no problem. All of this is what I call the intergenerational issues, right? But so this isn't just looking at a snapshot in time, but it's saying what's going to happen 20, 30, 40 years down the track. You're going to find that those who are affluent continue to perpetuate that. Those who are not affluent will find it harder and harder to jump across. And effectively, we are mirroring more and more the US situation, where we've got a proportion of the population who are exclusively quite wealthy, and you've got a large proportion of the population who have no chance. And that's all very un-Australian in my view.
All right, I think that's probably all I need.
Okay.
So that's really helpful. Thanks for talking about this, Martin.
Glad to help, and if there's anything else you need, just drop me an email, I'll try and help.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, good to talk to you. Bye-bye. So there you go, I've just completed a 20-minute interview with a journalist who's writing on the Bank of Mum and Dad, and that'll probably come out in the next month or so. And in parallel, I'm also working with the ABC 7:30. We did an interview with them a couple of weeks ago, and that's going to be out the next week. I've just been answering some questions there as well. So we do quite a lot of media-related activity through the day, and always try to be as responsive as we can. Okay, so that's all for now. I'm going to need to get back to work, so I'll see you later. So it's about 3:30 in the afternoon, and we've come out for our afternoon walk along the beach to Horrible. This is it's a really nice area around here. The dogs are allowed to run free, a lot of sand dunes, a lot of water, and it's a rather nice day to do this. Hello again, it's just about 5 o'clock. So since I spoke to you last, I've taken the dogs down to the beach again, and I've also been doing some further research. In addition, I had a number of requests for a couple of reports, so I've sent those out, And I've also been answering some queries from the YouTube channel. So it's been quite busy. And in the last few moments, the Reserve Bank has released a quite interesting report, which I've now read, which talks about property zoning and essentially argues that a lot of the price differential in property in Australia can be explained by restrictive zoning practices by different local authorities. And in fact, they're suggesting that in Sydney, up to 73% of home prices could be explained by the zoning restrictions. And so their argument would be, well, if you reduce the restrictions, allow people to build houses closer together, higher, then effectively that could put downward pressure on home prices. So the research is very detailed. It's worth reading if you've got the time. I've already done a blog for the Digital Finance Analytics blog, and that got posted about 15 to 20 minutes ago. So the last thing on my list of things to do today is to set up the studio for the recording session. I've now finished writing the client presentation, and now I need to record it. So I thought what I would do is turn the camera around so you can see how I turn the office into the recording studio. Okay, so you can see the area that we've got to work with, and Jasper's sitting on the carpet having come back from his walk. I noticed there's washing over there. I've forgotten about that, but never mind. It just shows it's real life. So there's a few things I have to do. The first is that I need to bring the chair into place. I use fixed focusing on all of my videos, so it's all carefully set up. So there's a mark on the floor, and I can put the chair bang on the mark, and that means that I have a very good chance of getting the focus right all the time. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the lights. So I've got a couple of lights at the back here, which allow me to light from slightly behind. So we'll swing that one around, and then I'm going to bring the screen across. This is just a standard cloth screen, but it works quite well for what I want. Seems to, the only thing I would say is the dogs don't like it much for some reason. They seem to get quite twitchy, but that's another story. Okay, but I've now got the light in place, so I can now turn all the lights on, like so. And that then gives me the studio setup. Obviously the camera angle is slightly different, so effectively you won't see the washing in the video, which is good. But that in a nutshell is the way it works. So I can then sit down here, and as I normally do, I address the camera there. Now I also have a really relatively decent microphone, which I swing down in position. That's about sort of 9 inches above my head, and then that gives me the right sort of sound. And one of the things I've tried to do with the videos generally is to make the audio as best I can. I think it's important. I would say that some of the video today, as I've been working through the day, will be a bit weird, and probably the sound too, because I've used a combination of different cameras, and not all of them necessarily will have the same sounding video, but I think the overall effect is reasonable anyway. Okay, so that's about it really. I'm going to now turn the blogging camera off so that I can actually start recording the 35 to 40 minutes of text that I've got to talk to. And what I'll do a bit later on this evening is I'll probably come back once more and just tidy up the rest of the day, tell you what happened between 5:30 and about 8:30. I tend to sort of finish work at about 7 to 8:30, and then perhaps I'll finish editing the video tonight and put it up on YouTube so that you can enjoy it, if enjoy is the right word, over the next few days. That's it for now. I'll see you a bit later. Well, hello once again. It's now just about 8:30, and I've pretty much come to the end of my day. So the video recording went quite well. So tomorrow I'm going to edit that particular recording and add in a whole bunch of graphics and other collateral that I have to finalise the deliverable for that particular client. It needs to be with them for Monday, so hopefully I can finish it tomorrow and meet the deadline. I did a few other things as well, a few more blog posts. I answered a couple more queries from YouTube and also from various emails. The day is just coming to an end, but I've still got the information from the Northern Hemisphere coming through, particularly from Europe. There are announcements from the Bank of England and from the Bank of Japan. So I look at those and see whether there's anything there that I think is really important to be able to upload today. Otherwise, I'll knock it over tomorrow when I start it all again. So, I hope you found this an interesting video insofar that what I've tried to do is to give you more information about what I do and how I do it and what motivates me to do what I do. Hopefully I've made some connections for you with my overall website and video blog, and also explained a little bit about the difference between Walk the World and Walk the World Productions and how that fits in with digital finance analytics. So do tell me what you think. I'm always interested in your comments. And if there are questions you'd like me to pursue, again, feel free to leave them in the comments. So if you found this video useful, please do like it. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so that you get alerts from future videos. And do check back again next time. I'm Martin North from Digital Finance Analytics. Many thanks for taking the time to watch, and have a good evening. I'm off to get a drink. See you next time.